everybody. Welcome back to the Forecast, the bi-weekly podcast about everything games, film, and news. I'm Aaron Juno.
I'm Yager McCausland.
I'm Confused Ben Diaz.
I'm Caleb Juno.
I'm Chad Yager McCausland.
Yeah.
And I'm the exasperated Jake Fetterkyle.
Quick question. Did they name your older brother
interrupting?
Yager and then give his first
Yeah,
name to you
that's
as
weird.
a middle name?
We don't talk about that.
My brother's named after me.
On today's episode number 212, Sony is now leasing PlayStations in this economy. Steam hits a record number of concurrent users, and Discord might be going public? Plus, Next Fest has some bangers, more NVIDIA news from Chad, and Ben beat the Elden Ring DLC just in time for Night Rain, which we're all excited about.
Hell yeah.
If you'd like to know more about what we do, you can follow us on our social channels. You can check out our website, wearethehorizon.com. We have a ton of original content for you to browse through, including our new Pathfinder 2e campaign. I'm going to have to stop saying new. Crown and Conquest.
Hey, man, as long as we're under like 20 episodes, it's new.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. It's not like it's not the duration it's taken us to get those under 20 episodes. It's it's just the number of episodes.
I don't know.
I heard
if
you
it gets
guys are
to
going to have a
year-
back-to-back-to-back episode.
Quite possibly. It could happen.
I wouldn't hold your breath.
Our last
Additionally,
episode's really good. Just
it is.
FYI.
It is. It
I
is.
thought it was probably our best session, maybe.
It was one of the best ones.
Wow. Oh my
One of the
gosh,
best ones.
okay. Now the pressure's on, Jesus.
Really high. Additionally, everything we talk about is in our cast notes, which is pushed out to whatever podcasting app you are using. All right, let's move on. Chad, do you have a CCCP this week?
Yeah, so Split Fiction came out. So we got a random question about...
Yeah, of course.
So Split Fiction is a story based on two authors that have ideas that kind of come to life. Sci-fi and fantasy. And they get kind of melded together, and you play through the game doing, sci-fi and fantasy stuff. What two genres do you think would fit even better than sci-fi and fantasy?
Ooh.
Better.
Well, as good.
That's tough.
Pirates and ninjas.
I didn't know pirates were a genre. All right.
Yeah. Pirate genre, ninja genre.
The problem is most like combos I can think of, like they've been done, or like they already have a hybrid version.
Yeah.
I mean, sci-fi and fantasy go together a lot of the time as well. This isn't the first time that's happened.
If I think of like the What If from Marvel, I actually really appreciated the zombies and superheroes one. It was interesting.
that was cool.
This feels like a boring answer, but I love sci-fi horror. That usually, that's a personal favorite.
I was going to say some combination of like horror and like the polar opposite, like happy-go-lucky. What I can't think of what you would call that, but just like
Cozy.
merry-go-round,
Sure.
or merry-go-rounds and Ferris wheels and lollipops, like a carnival almost, like just pure happiness and then just pure horror. That sort of balance of it.
Man, have you played
Happy Tree Friends style.
what is it, Outlast Trials?
Yes, that vibe. Yeah.
Space westerns.
Ooh.
Love me a space
Ooh.
western.
That's
I was
good.
gonna Western.
I was going to say Western
Yeah.
sci-fi, and then you can have like Cowboys and Aliens.
Heck yeah.
And that
Like-
movie.
Like that movie, yeah.
What a great movie.
Cowboy Bebop.
Sure.
Cowboy
Firefly.
Bebop, yeah. Firefly.
Good question.
Never
It's
really
hard
thought
for me to
about
think
that.
of,
This is
because
good.
normally my go-to for this is I always love it's similarly sci-fi fantasy, but the version of it where like we're so far sci-fi futuristic that like magic has basically been scientifically invented. Either that or gone to another planet where magic has become a thing.
Isekai.
Not quite isekai. Like I'm thinking, did any of you ever read the Dragon Riders of Pern? It is a...
Nope.
At the risk of spoiling a book that is about 60 years old, it is roughly a book that seems to be a fantasy story where people ride dragons, and then later you discover the fact that they are humans who have traveled on a spaceship to another planet, found basically tiny dragons, and then genetically modified and bred them to be large enough to ride and fly on. And it's just a interesting concept.
Wow.
but
That's
sort
a
of thing.
60-year-old book.
It's actually might be older than that.
Wow. Crazy. Question. The stumper. Who brought that one, Chad? Do we have a name? We have a listener we can
Yeah.
call it, yeah?
It's by user Split Fictioner.
Fictioner. Got
Exactly.
it.
Split
60 years old,
Cool,
actually.
cool.
That's good.
All right, let's move on to a couple news-related things. First and foremost, Warner Brothers has announced some closures. Yay, I guess.
Why are we saying yay?
I'm not saying yay. I'm saying yay in the sense that,
You
like,
said yeah.
You
I
said
know,
yay. You
Yay.
support
Why are you
corporations
saying
closing.
it's yay
Game
and like,
devs.
oh, yay, more announcements for studios closing. Oh, yay. Great news to start the podcast off with. That's
So glad to have Alex's downer section.
yeah, thank you. That's really what my yay is focused on.
Yeah. This is big news that kind of rippled across the industry last week. So they closed Monolith and they closed Player First Games. Monolith, best known probably for the Shadow of Mordor, Shadow of War games.
Oh, not
Yep.
Fear?
Or
Every other
Fear, I
article I've
guess.
seen has said best known for Fear.
I guess
Mhm.
best known for Fear. It's been so long since Fear, though. I don't really think
I
of
mean,
them as
you're
Fear
not
anymore.
wrong. I just thought it was funny that every single article I've read about this has said best known for Fear and also Shadow of Mordor.
I
would
never
say
even played Fear.
Fear was like a defining
Of course
game.
you did. It's a scary game.
But the
Well,
the
Hey, you did
adversary
that.
system, is that what it's called? The adversary system?
Nemesis.
Nemesis system.
That's the one thing they're
It's
talking
so
about is
good.
because it's
That's the big
essentially going to be locked until
Oh,
like
yeah?
the 2030s or something when that expires.
Yeah,
just
I mean, I guess WB could potentially give it to a different dev or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they've been really responsible with it
Yeah,
so far.
but-
So.
I sent Alex a TikTok about that, and I was dying laughing. It was what was it? The
Oh, it was
Severance.
Milkshake.
Yeah, Milkshake like dancing, throwing a party, and it's just like when you close down WB, and you keep the Nemesis system locked away.
Yeah, so they patented and got awarded the patent for the Nemesis system, which that's the part that's crazy to me is that they were allowed to do it.
It seems like you shouldn't be allowed to do. Like, imagine if someone had like trademarked zooming with a camera.
Yeah.
It's just like,
Uh.
what do you mean? It's like it's a mechanic.
So that's from the Shadow of Mordor games that they would have bespoke enemies that would be generated across your playthrough based on how you interacted with them, and it was wicked cool. And we've all talked about how awesome it's going to be in other properties that they use it in for years, and they just never did. But like potentially that would have been a thing in the Wonder Woman game that got canceled based on this closure.
Didn't even really do that much with it in Shadow of War.
Yeah, they
It's
split
kind
it.
of the same.
Yeah, it was just like the same thing again. I don't know. They had the whole like build up the castle
Mhm.
system instead, which I didn't really vibe with.
And
but-
microtransactions.
Oh, that's
No.
true. Forgot about that.
Dude, it's just like the Nemesis system should have just been a license to print money. Like
Yeah.
I can think of
Mhm.
like 100 cool settings to implement that system.
Yep.
Like, how did they not knock this out of the park over and over and over again? Instead, they made
Yeah.
Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, which didn't even use the fucking Nemesis system.
That game was wild.
It's-
But I mean, Monolith had been working on this Wonder Woman game for like 8 years, or at least, most of that time, because that's how long it's been since their last game came out.
Man.
And
Do
we
we
never
know-
saw anything about it, really. And
Yeah,
now
we
it's
don't-
just gone.
Do we know anything about it? Because I wonder if this is like a situation that a lot of games have been in recently, where it was like, oh, we're going to make this game. Actually, could you make that a live service game? Ooh, actually, live
Mhm.
service games are tanking. Could you make it this other thing? Actually, we're going to cancel it.
Yeah. Maybe Redfall came out and they were like, crap.
Well, maybe Redfall or Anthem or Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League or any number of failed live services came out and they went, ooh,
Yeah.
hang on, hold the phone.
Man.
Okay, so I launched a game the other day, and this was during the Next Fest demos, and Warner Brothers logo came up, and that had me questioning if this game is going to get created completely or not. Game of Thrones. Supposedly developers Warner Brother. So did Warner Brother only close a couple studios, or
Yeah. It's just
Okay.
a few. They have a bunch of studios, and I mean, that one might even be like a licensing situation, like where they're not even owned by Warner Brothers. I don't know.
Mhm.
The word on the street was that they were basically going to focus on their big IPs, which is Harry Potter and Game of Thrones, because everyone has been dying for more Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Game of Thrones is
Gosh.
hot right now.
Yup.
The other studio they closed, Player First Games, is the studio that made that platform fighter, that Multiverses.
The first time or the second time or both times?
Both times.
Cool.
So
So glad
they
they managed to cancel that game twice.
Real W.
Absolutely hilarious.
shut it down, or we're shutting it down, or something like that.
Poor
I don't know.
LeBron.
And then now they close the studio.
That's another one that I'm like, how do you not? You just put out like a decent Smash Bros. Clone, charge like $20 for it.
I mean, Brawlhalla is still alive, and that
What's
game
funny
is
is,
probably
like-
right?
thrown together with toasters.
What's funny is the people that liked that game don't really understand what happened, because it was out in beta for like a long time, like to the point that you'd assume that it was just going to be a rolling beta, and then they'll eventually announce 1.0.
Oh, it's 2.0. Yeah.
And all of a sudden they were like, nope, beta's over, and then closed it down for like a year, and then came
Yeah.
back with a bunch of changes that nobody liked. From what I've heard, like the gameplay was a lot slower, like weird monetary systems. I don't know. I
Overwatch
don't know what
2,
happened with
baby.
that game.
Yeah. I genuinely think a lot of this stuff comes from executives being like, okay, how much money is it going to make compared to Fortnite? Not as much as Fortnite? No. We want Fortnite. We want Fortnite money. And it's like, guys, that's just not, you gotta like figure out your expectations.
That
Like
could-
Square Enix is a little infamous for saying their games did not meet sales expectations.
Yeah.
Even games that sold, like the third Tomb Raider game did not meet sales expectations. It's just like, how do you not know? I could probably have guessed the exact number it would have sold based on the last two games. You know what I mean? Like, how are you unsure of how well it's gonna sell?
That's also like they said that for Remake and Rebirth, right? And I'm thinking
Yes.
like
yeah,
I
they've
feel
said
like-
similar things.
I feel like Rebirth sales are going to pick up like
Mhm.
more towards when the third one gets announced and or almost released.
Mhm.
And so like maybe their sales expectations will be met by then, but like
Yeah.
really like the first month it drops, like you already know it's not going to be a finished game. Like
Yeah.
the story's not over. So like of course the sales aren't going to be high.
I think there was
It also it was a PS5 exclusive during
Oh,
like
yeah.
a really dry period for the PS5.
I think there was like reporting I saw that they were looking into going multi-plat with the third one because they weren't
Great
happy
idea.
with sales on the exclusives.
I mean
What an
PC day
idea.
one. Let's go, dude.
Right.
Other news, speaking of Sony and exclusive titles and things like that, Sony now leasing PlayStations. What
What
a
does this even mean?
novel concept. You can sign a contract with them and lease a PS5 to play games on.
Yeah, so this is only in the UK right now. They're partnering with this other brand called Flex. Or this has been branded Flex. They're partnering with a leasing firm called Raylo. But I think this is something that was discussed before these systems are coming out, was how popular cell phone contracts are and how successful they are. And like, what if they did like a similar pricing model with consoles?
Does this mean a console every year program?
So you can go, I converted all the prices to America dollars instead of British
Yeah, the
pounds,
real
so
money.
that we understand what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But like you can lease a base PS5 digital for $28.32 a month. That's if you're doing month to month. If you sign up for a 36-month contract, it's $14.18 a month. So
36 months.
yeah,
That is a wild amount of time.
it's a long time, but also like you're gonna use a console for a long time, probably longer than that even.
Yeah.
What if you sign that and then like the next month the PS6 comes out?
So the The prices are so much higher for month to month. It's crazy. You can get the PS5 Pro for $45.91 a month, or do your 36-month contract and get it for $24.45.
That feels really expensive.
Yeah,
Is there a point-
if
Pretty
you,
expensive.
if you think about it, like, let me back up one second. Are they including any games with these rentals, or is it just you're just renting the
I
platform?
think you're just getting the system.
Okay, it's just the device. All right, sure. Now think about the amount of money you probably spend on like other streaming services or platforms. $24, you could probably make that. That's what Netflix costs now,
I know. It's crazy.
and you're getting a piece of hardware.
It is
Yeah,
basically
but
what I
you're
pay for
only
Netflix
getting
a
piece
month.
of hardware.
It costs that much
Yeah.
a month? Jesus Christ.
Yeah, if you want like 4K.
It does also raise the question of like, so you get it and you buy some games, some digital games. You don't get to keep those, presumably. I mean, I guess they're tied to your account,
Yeah.
but like if you don't have the console, they're just dust in the wind, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think
Is
this
there
is
a
why.
point where you're leasing this and then you paid enough and they're like, all right, you can keep it?
Lease to own situation.
Yeah, I don't think it's like a lease to own situation either. It's just you get
Like
it
Xbox,
while you're
you pay
paying for
Game
it.
Pass.
Yeah.
Sure. So you'd be paying essentially 24 plus 10. You sign up for like a PlayStation version of a Game Pass, I guess.
Yeah, they have like their tiers of PlayStation Plus that come with libraries of games.
It's not terrible. I mean, when you consider the price of buying a graphics card today and then building a PC to renting a PS5 plus all the games in a library for $34 a month, it's really not bad. And how much are you paying for your phone every month? Do you have any idea like how much your iPhone costs every month that goes to your contract?
It's like 50 or 60 or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, far off
Yeah.
from that.
Yeah. I mean, the PS5 Pro, if you wanted to get one, it's $800.
Well,
I
the
guess
36-month contract is $865.
yeah, but you don't have to pay it up front.
Sure.
You're always
And
going
the-
to spend more in these situations. I mean, it's
Mhm.
like, do you want to buy a
Well-
house in cash? Sure, but can you?
Also, after you
Don't
spend
a
the
bunch of
800 and
companies
some
just allow you
dollars,
to finance stuff like that?
yeah,
I mean,
Yeah,
yeah.
you can do like Klarna or Afterpay or something like that.
I would do that
That's
because
fine.
like after I pay the 800 and some dollars, I'm like, oh, I gotta re-sign up for
Yeah,
another
I think-
820
give
some
this back.
dollars. Like,
Those, I don't know. A lot of those programs are really predatory.
Hmm.
And like, if you're not really good about making payments and stuff like that, you'll end up paying way more because like
I mean,
their
Klarna's
interest is
like their starting interest rate is like either like 10 or 15% somewhere in there, depending on
Wow.
what your score is.
yeah. I mean, that's
and
how they
will
make
say-
money.
ramps up like a credit card, like 20,
I will say-
30%.
Unless they've changed it, which they may have. It's been a while since I worked there. You could just get like 36 months.
What?
We
he
lost
just cut
him.
out
How did
so
we
hard.
lose?
We
I don't
lost
know.
him.
Yeah.
He's just
Oh.
gone.
You're back.
Hear me? I don't know what
Yeah.
happened
Yeah.
there.
Were you saying Best Buy has like a...
Oh yeah,
Payment
unless
plan.
they've changed it since I last worked there, Best Buy, you could just literally get 36 months 0% financing on stuff over $500
That's what
Like-
I thought, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
built in. Like, sorry, I think you have to like apply for it, but it's pretty easy to get.
In this specific case, I don't understand signing a contract to do this because you could just do exactly what Ben's talking about and buy the system outright with 0% financing. Now, a month-to-month rental of a PlayStation, I could kind of see
Yeah,
that.
month
If
to month, I think is fine.
like an exclusive title comes out, you're like, I don't own a PS5.
right.
I
Yeah.
can't borrow a PS5, but I can go spend $40-$50 and rent one for a month and play
I
this
mean, you're
game I want.
essentially paying like a digital deluxe edition to play the game.
Mhm.
So like
Yeah.
$120 to play it for a month and then give it back.
Interesting.
I would not do the 36 months.
No.
I would
Come
just
on.
buy the console at that point. Maybe I'm privileged, but you know.
One note here on Discord, they are in talks to become public or to go public. I don't.
Very
Why?
curious what this means.
Yeah, let's ruin Discord.
Yeah, that's exactly what's going to
Yeah.
happen. I feel like.
Yeah, that's kind of why I wanted to bring this up. Because I've talked in the past about Discord is in a state where it's like everything is magical and that they provide a crazy service for the cost of nothing. And I feel like 10 years from now, because the market share that they've taken, which is all of it, they're going to be just like running some crazy stuff down your throat at some point. So this is the first step to that, I think, because if they go public and then they have investors to be beholden to, they're going to have to start doing stuff to make money.
Yeah, they're going to cut 90% of the staff like immediately.
Yep. Of course. Do you think, is Elon going to buy
it? Maybe.
So this is just like unnamed sources reporting this right
Alex,
now. But
Alex, did you put this in the notes just because you feel justified on our like lack of moving from Mumble to Discord, and you're like, see, I told you.
No, because I mean nothing's happening yet.
I think he's setting us up. He's going to go public.
Oh, yep. McServin going public. Got it. Yep.
I believe they had done this a few years ago. They had talked about maybe going public, but didn't end up doing it for whatever reason. I think it might have been right before the pandemic.
We just have talked several times in this podcast about like Game Pass. What does that look like in 10 years, 20 years? Like, how does Netflix progress from where it was like $6-7 a month to what it is now? I'll be curious to see what happens if they go public. Do we get like a lot more advertising on the platform?
We get
cover
no
costs?
new features ever in advertising. That's what we get.
I would also guess they really squash what you get out of a free user.
Yeah,
Discord. Like
Nitro is pretty much going to be required at some point.
Yeah, the minimum will be Nitro. Yikes.
We're already starting to get like forced advertisements. Like every once in a while you get this little badge that pops up above your username now that's like, hey, you should play this game and get this reward.
Yeah. Claim your rewards.
And I'm like, okay, I see where this is going. Interesting.
I don't like it. On the other end of video game software spectrum, Steam, the company that we love that just does all the right things, got some record numbers in terms of concurrent users last week.
Yeah, Steam hit a new record of 40 million concurrent users, which, to put that in perspective, because the article I saw on this had a very catchy title to put into perspective of 40 million concurrent users, which is bigger than 80% of the countries that are members of the United Nations.
That's a lot.
That is a wildly high amount of people playing video games at the same time, all on Steam.
I've been watching it for a bit. It's surprising how often they get a new concurrent record. It's like every month or so. But they finally passed 40, which was a big milestone. So
wait till they pass 50.
I know. It's crazy.
I'm sure COD coming over helped.
Yeah. I mean, everything helps, right? Like, Sony starting to put stuff out on their platform, Epic exclusives coming over, etc., etc. Monster Hunter.
Oh yeah,
the old head of Amazon Gaming just came out and basically said, "Yeah, no, we just Steam One is not worth it."
You think EA is back on Steam, or Ubisoft's back on Steam?
Epic's still holding strong.
Yeah.
It's good to have competition. It's not really competition, but it's good to have somebody trying at competition.
Yeah, they're doing their best out there.
Here's free games. We're losing money, but Fortnite.
Yeah.
We should mention the Monster Hunter Wilds peak that they hit, over 1 million users on, like, I think it might have been day one.
Yeah, I was surprised it was so high.
Is crazy.
People like Monster Hunter.
I don't like Monster Hunter. I heard those numbers and I was like, do I give it a shot?
I literally did the same thing. I was like, wow.
Well, it made me call back to the last podcast when Jake was like, why would I play Monster Hunter Wilds when I could just go play Monster Hunter Worlds, because it's basically the same thing and there's like very little upgrades between the two. And yet, 1 million people on a 24-hour peak.
I know for a fact I'm going to launch that game. I'm going to like not be able to hit the monster because I use the great sword, and I'm going to be like, this game sucks.
Well, I can tell you on Steam, the reviews are mixed at 60% positive.
The PC
Is it mostly
performance is not
optimization
good.
though?
Yeah, people are pretty mad about
Not
the performance.
surprised.
It's
Yeah.
littered with performance issues.
I don't take Steam reviews seriously anymore, to be honest.
Yeah.
I
It's
saw
I
that,
think they're normally
the-
a pretty good indication.
I don't know, man. It's
Unless
like
a game's getting
90%
review
just the
bombed.
performance
Yeah,
sucks,
sure.
and I look at like what they're running and it's a potato, and I'm like, guys,
I
really?
yeah, I'll look into stuff myself. The one place I trust usually is just Digital Foundry. I did see they post a video about Wilds on PC and how it's a mess. So
I trust Donkey. Okay.
yeah, did you watch his video on Monster Hunter?
Yeah.
Because he plays great sword.
Yeah. Yes. That's great.
Also, to the surprise of no one, Call of Duty has admitted to using AI art assets. What? No way.
Everybody's
Who'da
surprised,
thunk
Aaron.
it?
What are you talking about?
Mostly
Come
one of
on.
those people have been like accusing of them for a while, and for a long time they've been like, no, we don't, no.
No.
People were like,
Wouldn't
how
do
about all
that.
these pictures? You see this loading screen where there's like literally a guy with 6 fingers on his hand. Their teeth. They're like, no. It was
Artistic
no comment.
choice.
If I'm
They
not
don't-
mistaken, they had to announce this because they came to Steam, and Steam has a policy that you have to announce AI usage.
Oh my
wow.
gosh,
In your
no
game.
Steam
way.
got him.
Good guy
Yeah.
Steam again.
Why? Bruh, when Steam goes public, that's going to be such a brutal day.
Yeah.
I hope it never happens. Ever.
Come on,
The
Gabe, and
hero.
live forever.
Didn't deserve what we needed.
We just
He's-
need Gabe and Brain in a
He's working
castle.
on like neural interfaces. Maybe he
Yeah.
uploads his brain before he dies.
And
Yes.
fingers fucking crossed.
I also, Ben, I'm really glad you put this in here because I was actually talking to Caleb about this while
Yeah.
we were in Iowa, and that is that nobody bought the best version of the first Dying Light. Which, Ben, feel free to...
$386,000 version.
Excuse me.
What?
Yep.
You heard that
Please
right?
explain what's in it.
It comes with parkour lessons and a full-sized custom zombie survival shelter. In total, it is 4 signed steelbook copies of Dying Light, the Xbox One version, 2 sets of Razer Tiamat headphones, branded night vision goggles, a human-sized figure of one of the game's volatile enemies, a zombie survival parkour lesson with the Ampisound Parkour free-running team. Whoever, I'm sure they're really good at free-running, but I'm not familiar with them.
Yeah.
You get a photo of your face skinned onto your Night Hunter character,
Wow.
a round trip to Techland where you'd get to, quote, party with Steve the Zombie Consultant and dominate our devs in a rigged Be the Zombie match so you can brag to your friends, a custom-built zombie survival shelter, and some adult diapers to go with your night vision goggles for Dying Light's nighttime gameplay.
Oh, because it's so scary.
Mhm.
So
Wow.
this was all a joke, right? Like this. I mean, obviously, if somebody
I'm-
bought it, they would probably do it. But they
I'm
probably
honestly surprised some super rich person didn't buy it as a joke.
Right?
Huh.
I first thought it was like the Pepsi Jet situation where they're like,
Mm.
They never actually intended
Yeah,
to
it's
give
like
Yeah.
a joke.
somebody.
They did say specifically, somebody from the team said in an interview, it was a PR stunt and got a lot of media attention for its wild and over the top nature. It did a great job of getting the game noticed, but nobody purchased it, thankfully, I guess.
wild. Absolutely wild.
I think the funniest part about that is they give you 4 copies of the game so you can play 4-player with your friends, but they only gave you 2 headsets.
Mm.
Yeah,
You gotta
they're
pick
really
which one of
big
your
headsets,
4
though.
friends
You just,
or one of
you
your
just
3
stretch that
Mhm.
second ear out and put your
Yeah.
heads together.
And what they don't tell you is a 3-player game.
Like $300,000
hilarious.
I couldn't throw in 2 other
What
headsets.
stuck out to me? Did it not? It said that it would put your face on your character, right?
Which you
It's
never
a
see.
first-person game, right?
Yeah, I
want
want
to see how
everybody else can see your
You
face.
see in the inventory screen?
Oh, the inventory screen? Okay, or maybe
Yeah.
if there's
Yeah.
a mirror in the world, you can catch a glimpse.
Yeah, because you can change like clothes and armor and stuff like that, right? So like, there's definitely
Okay,
an
okay.
Night
inventory.
Hunter character? I'm not sure what that is.
I don't know. I'm not a...
Dying Light stuff.
Dying
I wonder.
Light.
I think they had like a PvP mode. I wonder if that is what they're talking about.
Well, that's the rigged version they were talking about.
That game has a PvP mode?
It shouldn't.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, the Night Hunter is a player-controlled fearsome predator.
It shouldn't have a PvP mode, but they had to include it because the story was so short that most people just flew through it when they were playing it.
It was like, what, half
4
an hour?
hours, 3 hours.
So short.
Yeah, it's the player-controlled infected character for their PvP mode,
It's about what's worth playing in that game.
so you can look at your face on that.
I'll never forget us just sprinting in the final boss. We all just had pipes and we're just pummeling that man.
Every boss in that game is not built for co-op. I don't know why. It's heavily advertised as a co-op game, but you surround and beat this person with a pipe. 4 of you. There's nothing they can do.
I wonder if the game is supposed to scale to your level, but we never leveled, so it just stayed at that same,
It's
just
super
easy.
Oh man, what
I
a
remember
game!
being so sad.
Yeah,
I was glad when it was over.
I wanted to play that game for real, and everybody's like, "All right, sprint to the next objective as fast as possible."
We needed to beat it to play the next game that we played all of 2 minutes of.
We
Yeah.
essentially did a speed run.
Yep.
Unintentionally, and I was sad.
shame.
Man, I loved it.
Yeah, it was
It was
great.
fun.
It was great. Okay, moving on to film. I want to talk real quick about the Oscars, Jake.
Yeah, did anyone else? We don't have to talk about this for very long. I really just had one thing I wanted to talk about. Okay.
I did not watch.
We'll go quick. So it was hosted on Hulu. Hulu, you could watch it on Hulu.
Why?
And it was scheduled to run, I don't know. But that's where I watched it. And it was scheduled to run until 10:30 p.m. EST. But the show ran long. But Hulu said, no, it's scheduled to run at 10:30. So halfway through the
Again,
speech for Best
why?
Actor, they cut it off. They said, you're done.
Oh my god.
The Oscars
No
end at 10:30. And it was
way.
like, okay, I kind of wanted to see who won Best Picture, but that's fine.
Oh man.
Wow.
So literally had to go and find an illegal, different stream to finish watching the rest of the winners of the evening because Hulu just shut it off and I couldn't figure out how to get it to come back.
That's ridiculous.
I could not believe it. Like literally in the middle of the speech, it just turned off and it was like, what?
That's incredible.
I don't
I
know how
didn't
you fucked that up
see-
so bad.
I didn't even see who won.
Best Picture, Anora.
Anora.
Best animated picture was Flow, which I highly recommend watching.
Yes.
Oh, really?
Really enjoyed it.
Oh, it won Best Animated Picture too?
That was Flow.
Flow,
yes.
not Anora.
No. Yeah, Flow, but didn't it also
Well-
win Best International?
Oh, did it? I'm not sure about that.
What was that title?
I don't know
National-
what Anora is.
I can't believe you haven't seen anything about Anora. It's like everywhere. I feel like.
It won a lot of awards.
Yeah.
I think cinematography, actress, editing. I think those are the big ones I remember.
Okay. I'll have to check it
Yeah,
out.
it's a good movie. Lot of nudity and sex. Do not watch it with your parents.
Or
Good to
do.
know.
Live life on the
Or
edge. you
do,
know?
I guess. Yeah, if that's... I don't know your guys' relationship with your parents. Do whatever you want to do.
2025,
This
baby.
was Dune Part
Yeah.
2 year.
It was Dune Part 2 year. It won a couple.
Yeah.
Like, special effects, sound design.
Mm-hmm.
Best sound, yeah.
It was a year for the Oscars for sure.
Yeah. Longest
heard-
speech, I think, in Oscars history.
I was
Oh,
gonna
really?
say, I heard that the Best Actor went
Mhm.
a little over the 45-second speech.
Yeah. So long, in fact, that they cut off my stream and I had to go find somewhere else to watch it.
Supposedly, the music started playing to kind of show him, hey, wrap it up. And he was like, hey, turn the music off. And then later, the music came back on. And
Mhm.
I think it was a 50-minute speech.
No way.
It was not 50, not 50.
I think that
Is this Adrian Brody?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think people are reporting that it was a 50-minute speech.
Holy cow.
Yep.
No wonder Hulu cut it off at 10:30.
You're talking about Brady Corbett?
No.
It's Adrian.
Adrian Brody.
It
That
was
from
5 minutes and 40 seconds.
Mm.
A long speech, though.
I mean, it wasn't long.
I mean, what do they
I
normally
didn't
give
even
you?
watch
Like
all that.
30
It is
seconds?
apparently a record
minute?
for longest Oscar speech.
Mhm.
Is it as long as Kratos' speech at that one Game Awards?
Gosh.
I want to say that one was
I'm
like
curious
7
what
or
that
something.
was.
Wild. Okay, I want to jump in to talk about Steam Next Fest, which just happened over the past week. I think it ended on the 3rd, but there are still demos up. I don't know who we want to start with, where we want to start.
Are there demos up still?
There
Yeah, a
are
lot of them
multiple
are still
demos are
up.
still up. Actually,
Huh.
before we do this, should we just talk about your NVIDIA story so we can just talk about games for the rest of the time, Chad?
Oh, sure. Yeah. So I finally got a 50 series, 5080. Because I think last time I was talking about how every single time I try to go click on something or go to the Micro Center or whatever, like it was always sold out. So I was actually in San Diego and I checked Discord and was like, oh, snap, they're in stock right now. And so I called up my wife. He didn't answer, obviously. So I called up my father. He didn't answer, obviously.
Obviously.
So then I was like, you know what? Somebody who might pick up is Alex. So I called Alex. I was like, hey, I think they have them in stock. Can you drive over there and pick me up one? I'll pay you back. So he did. So I got back from San Diego. Tried to plug it into my decade-old tower, the Half X, and card's way too big.
Mm-hmm.
So that night I was like, all right, well, we want to upgrade Caitlin's computer anyways. So went to Micro Center, got 2 towers, and I picked
The
up
movie?
I picked
Good
up
choice,
a couple
gotta
of
be honest.
the other parts that we needed, like a CPU, motherboard, etc. And then when I started trying to build everything, I started realizing, oh, none of the things that I bought for Caitlin are going to Caitlin now because the cooler doesn't fit my old motherboard, the CPU doesn't fit my old motherboard. So essentially, I just took all of the parts that I bought for Caitlin, put it in my computer, and I'm literally just rebuilding my computer and giving it to her. So that's fun. 50 series has been good though. Really
big
solid
upgrade
upgrade
for
from
you,
a
right?
2080 Ti. So
Yeah.
you know,
I'd say so.
been getting some nice frames on games on ultra settings and stuff like that. So it's nice. I immediately after building the computer and it actually coming out, jumped into Rivals and saw how many frames I could get. And it's close to 400. So
Heck yeah.
yeah, we'll be doing some good stuff on over the weekend tournament.
When
you
you're
could like
playing-
look at a Strange portal at max graphics and be fine.
Yeah, I'm excited to see. They came out with a new mode in Rivals with 6v6, all the same hero. Excited to see everybody just launch a portal at the same time and see how many people crash, and then also see how my 5080 handles that. And if I have to take it back to the store and be like, "Hey, this broke."
That'll be fun. Okay, now let's talk about some Steam Next Fest demos. This happened over the course of about a week. I think it ended on the 3rd of March, but there are demos still up. So if you want to go play some of these we talk about, or if you just want to find demos, there were like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of demos available for people to play. Some of them are pretty janky. Some of them feel like an incredibly polished game and basically ready to go, and everything in between. I don't know who wants to start with games they played in demos.
I brought up Game of Thrones earlier, and I gotta tell you, I am not interested in that game. I tried to rekey mine some things, and it just became a nightmare. I don't know why, but I think A and X are attacks. Who thought A would be a good button to hit for attacking? That's a jump.
Can you jump in the game?
I don't think you can.
Okay.
I don't
Or
remember.
not
I only played for a little bit, and then I realized I'm very not interested in this story. Like, I'm okay with Game of Thrones. It's too late.
Cool. What else you play? Anything else?
I played Haste, which I thought was pretty cool. I think Alex played it too.
Yeah.
Just kind of like looked like a speedrunner kind of game, kind of XOE vibes, like XO, that game where you're like the spaceship riding on the dunes.
Wow. Deep cut.
What do you mean?
I know what game you're talking about, but That's crazy. That's the one you reference.
What other, like the dolphin from Java? Like what do you want me to reference?
Yeah.
I mean, it's you're running and you're trying to hit the hills correctly, get some speed, and just kind of outrunning some weird distortion behind you and collecting gems while you're speeding through.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a boss fight at the end that you get. I mean, first of all, you're going down like a track that you could keep clicking on, different nodes to go through. There's a shop at one point to where you get some upgrades a little faster, use your hoverboard a little longer, etc. And then you just got to go touch the butt a couple times on the boss and, kill him that way. That's pretty cool.
I think this game is good. I talked to Chad about it a bit. We kind of came to the same conclusion as like, yeah, it's a good game. I don't think I'd ever buy it. I think I kind of got what I wanted out of with it.
The demo was all I needed.
Yeah. Who else? Alex, do you play games Next Fest?
I play games.
I don't know how to navigate this. I don't know if we're gonna do one at a time. Just everybody. Chad did all his, I assume.
Nah.
There's more. Oh, I'm listening. Chad, keep going.
I opened Post Trauma, and then I closed Post Trauma.
Oh.
It was like your old school Resident Evil, like not top down, but like you're controlling like in a room, and like the camera's not really following you until you go through a door, and like it's puzzly. It was supposed to be horror. I never got to that element because I was so bored. The character looks horrendous. I'm gonna be honest. I'm sorry if the devs listen to it. It wasn't the greatest. Caleb, I think you had it on your wish list or something like that.
I do. I didn't try the demo yet.
Yeah, it's you might like it. That's not saying that you like that game.
You might like Caleb.
Wow.
I opened. I don't know if this is just a random demo. If this, this was part of the Next Fest. There was the Dune Awakening character creator and benchmark. Obviously, had to open that because I got the 5080, and I ran it the first time, sent Alex the benchmark, and then I ran it the second time with higher settings, and it crashed my entire computer. So that was cool.
Good.
Yeah. And then, I don't know if we want to talk about this now or later, but Fellowship was the last demo that I played, and that was pretty much the best game. Like, it's all I ever want in an MMO. Like,
wow.
Dang.
Wow. Wait to talk about that during the group, I would say. Alex, I guess.
Yeah, sure.
We're going to do this twice.
Celesta...
We're doing this for Steam Next Fest, then we're going to do this for what you've been playing lately.
Yeah.
It's going to be great. I love it.
Celesta 2 put out a demo that I played through. I really like what I'm seeing from that game.
A lot more slick than the first one.
Just like movement and positioning feels way more fluid. Graphically, I think it's pretty stunning. It kind of feels like they're trying to ape Baldur's Gate a bit with their style. It looks very similar, just stylistically, but I don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. And the end of the demo got me really hyped for just the story in the world of what's going to come in that game.
Did you have any moments where one of your characters was just endlessly falling during a cutscene?
That did not happen, actually.
Okay, all right, just checking.
I'm gonna love with you. Gun to my head, I don't think I could tell you what the plot of Celeste 1 was. No clue.
Remember, there was lizards and they killed
the lizard invasion.
Yeah, it was like a portal.
People.
First things we
It's
did.
Secret Wars, but
Genuinely, the only thing I remember is an NPC complaining about orcs coming and killing their family. Like how much they hate orcs, as Caleb's fully orc character.
That was
just
the
stood next
funniest
to
moment
us.
of our
They're
playthrough. So
complaining about my parents being killed from orcs.
Yeah.
it was the lizard people uprising, though, is the whole plot line in that game.
I will take your word for it. I have no memory of that.
Other stuff I played, I tried a game called Emberfall, which presented itself as trying to be one of those Vampire Survivors likes, where it's your auto shooting stuff, except for it was in the style of a Metroidvania or your 2D platforming. I think it's a bad game.
Wow.
I only did a couple runs in it, and I was like, "This is awful." The whole point of the Vampire Survivor stuff is doing the COD Zombies thing, where you route people around and take them out slowly as big groups until you're so powerful that you can just like rush through everybody and kill everything. You can't really do that when you're 2D platforming. I think it's just a bad idea.
Called kiting, by the way.
Yeah, kiting. There you go. Thank you.
Guys, we don't have to bring up the bad ones. You can just talk about the good ones.
You can talk about whatever you want.
I want you to talk about every single one.
I think
pretty
it's funnier
brutal.
about the crap ones too.
He wants to know which ones to avoid.
It's important.
One I liked is called Shadowvale: Legend of the Five Rings, which
You just like
Yes.
it because of the name.
no,
That makes sense. I mean,
name.
it's maybe the worst name I've ever heard in my life.
Legend of the Five Rings, I guess, is like a tabletop RPG setting, and this is apparently the first game that's been in that setting.
It is the most generic sounding name I've ever heard.
Hmm.
Ever.
It is basically like if you know Dota Auto Chess or like Teamfight Tactics, like one of those types of games where you build up your units and then they go fight by themselves. Like you press the button and they do the battle, and then you make tactical decisions about who you're adding, who you're taking away, like kind of that kind of positioning thing.
Auto battlers.
Yeah, it's that, but PvE and a roguelike. So
It's very unique.
yeah.
Remind me of this when we get to WHYBPL, because I also will be talking about an auto battler PvE roguelike. So
Oh,
Okay.
Interesting.
cool.
Not that unique.
Civ 7.
I really liked
that's it. Yeah.
I really liked the setting in this. I think the voice acting was really good. I think it takes a long time for you to get any power up to your characters or recruit new people. So it like really forces you to think tactically through all the missions you're playing through. It was a really fun game. And I think it just came out today, actually, on Steam.
Yeah, I liked it. I think it's a cool
What's the name
idea.
of it again?
Oh, boy.
Shadowvale, Legend of the Five Rings.
Shadowvale: Legend of the Five Rings.
Shang-Chi.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
Google generic fantasy slop and you'll get
Thunder
it.
Fury, Blessed Blade of the Windseeker.
The other one I got a chance to play with Caleb. It's called Forgotten Fragments. It is a puzzle platformer that has a solo campaign and a 2-player co-op campaign. And we played the co-op part, and I thought it was good. It was competent.
Those are
Yeah.
separate campaigns.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, they're
Yes.
separate campaigns.
Nice.
Okay.
So like all the puzzles require you to work together in some way. There's a lot of like stand on button to activate thing, other person does other thing, or throw orb to other person that has to put orb in a thing. That kind of stuff. All with like split second timing and like if you don't do it fast enough, you die.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
That's
a good
pretty
one of
good.
those, I think.
Yeah.
Jake, did you play anything from Next Fest?
Nope.
Caleb?
Yeah, so this first one I don't think is actually technically from Next Fest. I think it came out beforehand. But I got around to playing the first Berserker Kazan demo. Man, that game slaps. That
Yeah,
demo's
it does.
great.
Yeah,
Highly
It's
recommend.
really, really good.
It's like a isometric Souls-like, essentially. And it is very, very competent. I really enjoyed it.
combat's very, very, very tight.
Yes.
Isometric?
Kind of isometric key. I don't know what other word I'd use for it.
I think it's straight up third person. Not
It's
like
pulled a lot farther back than just third person, I feel like. Don't you think?
it's like isometric's like top down at a 45-degree angle.
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty close to that. That's what it felt like. I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe I'm crazy. I also
Just
played
an ARPG,
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not like that at all.
like that level of zoom out.
Not that level. It's zoomed in closer than that.
Maybe I'm just crazy. I also played Twisted Tower. Twisted Tower is a very, very Bioshock inspired game, very obviously. You are going through this, it's almost like an amusement park tower where everything's trying to murder you. And there's lots of puzzly bits and lots of clearly Bioshock inspired combat. It was pretty good. Recommend trying it. Probably not for Alex because it's a little bit scary, you know?
So, does it take place in the Fortnite universe?
Mm-mm.
I think
Don't think so.
everything takes place in the Fortnite universe.
That's a
Or is
good
the
point,
Fortnite
actually.
universe just our universe?
Mhm.
I played Skin Deep, which is a immersive sim, first-person immersive sim. The demo only had 2 levels, but the first one's very tutorial-esque. But the second one had a lot of options for you running around. So it's looking to be pretty impressive. You're playing as a cryo insurance agent. You're like frozen on a ship, and something goes wrong, and you have to save the entire cat crew from pirates.
Oh,
It's great. Very cheeky. The last thing I'll talk about is Blueprints. Did anybody else end up playing this?
I have the demo
I
downloaded.
plan to play it. Yeah, I haven't got a chance yet.
So you play as a kid exploring his great uncle's manor, essentially, and the manor reconfigures itself daily. And your goal is to find the legendary 46th room of the 45-room manor. And you kind of just explore it first person. Every door you open, you get options for what room you can place next, which has, sometimes they're dead ends, sometimes they have just a right-hand turn, etc. And you have to sort of build your way to this 46th room. And you run into a lot of issues like dead-ending yourself or coming across a room that you can't solve without some other room somewhere. Like there's a dark room where all the lights are off, and you have to find the breaker room in order to flip on the lights to get through there. Stuff like that. A lot of cool puzzles like that. And it worked really well. I was surprised at how well I thought the idea was going to be a little bit finicky and hard to work, but I was very impressed. It's probably my favorite of the ones I played.
I played several things. I played Shadow Veil, of course, which I really liked. I played this game called Chroma Gun 2 Die Hard, DYE hard. Very like Portal-like, except that you're holding a gun with RGB colors, and you're spraying those colors onto like panels on the wall and attracting small cubes of similar color. It will hurt your brain because you're not ever doing primary colors. You're doing like secondary colors and tertiary colors. Try and move things around the room in a very like puzzle-like manner. Man, tough, very difficult, very like I can't process this. It's just a struggle. It's probably my age primarily, but anyway, it was an interesting game. I also play. Let's see, I played Blightstone, which is kind of a cool hexless based sort of tactical turn-based combat game that also has like a roguelike system built into it. It was pretty unique. A lot of unique characters and kind of a unique system for sort of managing you as you're sort of traveling across the countryside through like camping and upgrading on the fly. Any characters you lose just don't continue on with you, and you have to continue with just the one that you have or 2 that you have, depending on how many you've lost. Kind of a unique game. I played Netherworld Covenant. I think it was pretty cool. The demos, I feel like a little bit janky. It just takes a long time to load, and sometimes there's a little bit of bugs here and there, but it's a cool game that feels like a emergence of like Hades meets Diablo meets Dark Souls, and it is a sort of isometric action RPG, but it's a roguelike in the sense that you're just kind of moving room to room like Hades. Very, I don't know, it's just a unique and interesting game. The coolest mechanic about that game is that you have this like soul companion that you can utilize to cast these like extra abilities, whether that's like a melee hit or a ranged hit. And that soul companion kind of stays in the room wherever you leave it, and then you can dash to it and create like extra combos off of it. So it kind of spreads out enemies throughout the room and makes it really interesting combat system. Played Core Breaker, which is kind of like, man, what is a good example of that game? It's action platformer that's room based. No, it's just fast paced, lots of weapons, kind of like almost like a bullet hell. Room based bullet hell. It's kind of like also a little bit of like Binding of Isaac-y in the sense that there's a lot of hidden rooms and mini bosses throughout, and you get upgrades as you go. Kind of a fun game.
Very much a neon Oh,
Yes,
I lost the name of it suddenly. Neon
White
No.
No.
Abyss.
Neon Abyss.
Yes.
Very Neon Abyssy.
Thank you.
Mhm.
One of those neon likes.
Yeah.
I also played Inaya, Life After Gods. I think this is going to be a pretty cool game. This is also another action platformer Metroidvania style game, but you have 3 different weapons, and during your movement mechanic, you're swapping between weapons to interact with the environment. And most of the time, that's for traversal and combat. So it's a very mechanically intense action platformer during combat where you're swapping out between things to interact with either what's going on in the space or the enemy you're fighting against. It gets pretty complicated. So I thought that one was a lot of fun. The last one I'll mention is I played Esoteric Ebb. I don't know if anybody else played this demo. It is a CRPG where you play as a very bad cleric and you are investigating an explosion at a tea shop approximately 4 days before the election in a town. And the dialogue is incredible. You are constantly talked to by all the stats you would normally have for any sort of tabletop RPG character, strength, constitution. Each of those has its own mini entity that's kind of sitting on your shoulder and trying to convince you to do things in a very particular way, and they all have their own personality. And so during conversations with NPCs in the game, they're interjecting, that's a stupid idea, or that doesn't make any sense, or honestly, you should be in charge of everything because you're the most powerful wizard in the world, and really it should be all about you. And so there's a lot of back and forth. There's a small amount of dice rolling. It kind of gave me the feel of a little bit of Citizen Sleeper, just pure storytelling, and a lot of just sort of reading and interacting with the world. But the characters, even in the small amount that I've played, were very well done, very well executed.
It sounds like Disco Elysium.
Yeah.
Not played Disco Elysium.
Well, you have described Disco Elysium. Minus the magic.
Yeah.
Is this one of the 4 studios that came out of that studio?
I was wondering. I guess I don't know, but...
Published by Raw Fury. Developer is a last name I can't pronounce.
Okay.
Christopher Beauregard, I would guess, is how it's.
This is one guy.
I think
Well,
so.
it
Yes.
could
It might just be one guy.
it could be. That studio exploded so dramatically, so...
It really did. Wild.
I think Jake, Alex, Caleb, I think all of you guys would probably like this game. I think you should try it. It's really unique.
I think I will.
And that's about it. There are others I played, but the rest of them kind of sucked. Ooh, one other, actually. Void War. Void War. Void War is grimdark themed FTL. Great. It's like Warhammer 40k FTL. That's the mechanic. It's roguelike. It's great. Very, very neat game. That's it. You know what that means?
I
Time
don't
to
know
talk
what it
about
means.
more games.
Bipple.
Wibipple.
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 Bipple.
All right, now that we've talked about games, let's talk about games.
Thank
As a
goodness.
First one
group,
we're going to talk about, a demo.
as a group,
Yeah. Demo for
some
Next
people
Fest.
played a
God.
demo.
I'm upset I wasn't invited to this. This looks super cool.
The Fellowship?
Yeah.
I'm both happy and sad that I only played 1 day of this and then the demos went away. I think my life would have been ruined if I
Oh no.
tried this out earlier.
Oh, man.
I mean, I sunk 7 hours into this game. After hopping on, I just straight played it for 7 hours.
Do you keep your
this-
progress after it comes out?
I don't think you kept a mount that we got for reaching +5. So essentially, Fellowship is end game MMO content without having to grind through the slog of whatever the beginning game. The quote's always, you just gotta give it the 20-30 hours of gameplay before you get to the good stuff. Well, guess what? You get right into the good stuff in Fellowship. You're just playing Mythic Plus dungeons from World of Warcraft right out the gate. It seems like the scaling also has a really nice pace to it. We didn't really, I don't think, run into oh crap, we got to grind a little bit to make sure that we're able to get to this next level. We only got to +5. I could have probably pushed to +6, but I don't know. It seemed like you go into a dungeon, you beat the boss, you get an item. You know what happens in most MMOs? Sometimes you don't get an item. So it's like your eye level constantly goes up. They also have like systems in place that like, oh, you went in this dungeon, you got gloves. You already have gloves that are eye level 90. But guess what? There's this resource that you can spend to change that item to a chest plate instead.
Oh.
So now you have a chest that's level 90. Now Alex and I didn't actually get to that yet, but I did while I was watching videos on it, like see that was implemented in the game. So probably in the higher up levels, like you're finally like getting to that point of like grinding and like your eye level's not really going up as fast, and you're like, all right, I got this nice item to be able to change to where I can like choose which slot is going to upgrade, which is really nice because I mean basically the whole game is increase eye level, go into these dungeons, and just figure out the boss mechanics, which they're really cool boss mechanics. I mean, they're not overly complicated at the stages that we're at, but they were still kind of refreshing to the point where like we didn't know what was happening maybe the first or second time that we were fighting the boss, and then we finally kind of got a grasp for it, and then we're able to kind of go in and kill the boss.
Also, we hit difficulty +5, and they added new moves to the bosses at that point.
Oh,
yeah,
nice.
So that was
which
cool.
is really, really cool. There's a lot of Final Fantasy 14 kind of inspiration mechanics there. So you got to stack on people when there's the arrows pointing at a character. Make sure that everybody's soaking the damage together. If the whole room has like the purple aura on it, but like only the boss is like has an empty circle, obviously you walk in and you don't get hit, by him there. There's another mechanic where two people have red circles on them. They separate, and the boss will like jump between them, and so you don't stand in between them, or else you'll get hit. So it's just like cool mechanics like that, and then of course it's the Holy Trinity, which is always so phenomenal: tank, damage, and healer. It's just so good.
4-player game though.
It is a 4-player game, so you have 2 damage.
Oh, it's crazy.
That's wild, dude.
Yeah,
Why did that make it 3-player? That's a stupid decision.
right. So apparently, healer was the most popular class in this.
Yeah,
Wild.
I guess. I'm so happy somebody's finally doing this game because I've been saying it for years. Just make like a co-op PvE game that's not an MMO that takes the best parts of MMOs, just lets you play that part without having to do all the other junk.
Wait, if you've been saying this for years, why didn't you just tell Caleb? Because making video
He
games
was
is
amazing.
easy.
No, he could have just made it and then he'd be a millionaire
I didn't
now.
feel like it.
Checks out.
I clicked on the Fellowship Steam page and I clicked Developer Chief Rebel, and when I clicked that, it shows Remnant 2. So maybe
They must have been support studio. I'm sure they're not
support studio. Yeah, I
the
mean,
primary devs on Remnant. Which I can't remember the actual devs of Remnant right now, but that's not it.
Gunfire.
Yeah, there you go.
yeah, okay. I mean, having Remnant kind of somewhat associated with this game, kind of cool, because Remnant's a good game. Remnant has
Yeah.
good mechanics.
The issue will be like, does it get too repetitive? Because like the main goal is just pushing difficulty. Like that's the whole thing, which I think will be very interesting for a time. And then after a while, it'll be like, all right, I think I've pushed as far as I want and got what I wanted.
I would be
of this.
interested to see, because right now it looks like just dungeons. I'd be interested to see if they added like raids and stuff like that.
Yeah, if they did like higher player count activities.
Yeah. So it's like basically, all right, you have to push to at least plus 10 because that's around the eye level that you need to be to do this raid. But now you can do this raid and, get your friends together and.
I could see them introducing activities like that later.
Yeah.
Right
Well,
now
there's-
they have like single boss dungeons that are quick, and then they have 3 boss dungeons that take a little bit longer.
Well,
So-
let me just say this. The single boss quote unquote dungeons, those are called adventures.
Okay, yeah, they're called adventures in the game.
And
not
then-
dungeons.
The 3 boss dungeons are actually called dungeons.
The progression systems also seem pretty fleshed out. They've got talent trees, and they've got like special perks that your character will unlock through gear. And also you start off with like 8 skills on your character, but there's slots for 8 more. So you're going to be unlocking those as you progress up the difficulty levels.
Yeah, I really enjoy how they have the unlocks too, because you would think most games, like, you just keep doing the same dungeon over and over again and your level would go up and then you'd unlock a new skill. And so you could just do +1 like 20 times and you'll unlock skills. Well, this one is basically like you hit the open button at the top, opens up, matchmaking, and it shows you in the top left-hand corner if you're the host. If you're not the host, then you're screwed. But if you're the host, you can see what you're going to unlock in the next, plus that you do. So like if it's +5, you might unlock a mount, trait, a skill. And so basically it probably will be repetitive after a while, but
you're not
least
grinding
going up-
experience. You're just, you unlock things based on the difficulty level you're able to clear.
Right. So like if
That's
you go to the
nice.
+10, that might be like your last skill that you unlock or something, and then maybe it gets repetitive after that. But at least in the beginning, when you're trying to scale up to that +15, plus whatever, you're going to be unlocking stuff. So it'll feel fresh still. Also, you can just hot swap characters, start over, +1,
Yeah.
+2, etc., and like it just feels like a new game.
There was only 6 characters in the beta, but they all feel like significantly different to play. So I never got a sense of what Caleb actually thought about the game. He played it for a little bit with us.
Yeah, I think I just don't like MMOs that much. It was all right.
That's kind of what I figured you would say.
The number of players.
It's
4.
4.
Sounds like they have an
Pretty
opening,
possible.
Benjamin.
Well, I was going to say one too many for the optimal co-op experience, but we're still pretty good.
Yeah.
Unfortunate.
Yeah, it's no Outriders.
Man, we were talking about all the MMOs and the player counts, and we're like, majority of the MMO player counts is 5. Like, why did they go at 4 for this game?
Also, a group of us have played through the at least first
Campaign.
act, the campaign.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
first
the
campaign,
next one's
yeah.
going to be unrelated. Different characters, different things.
Unless we choose to bring one of those characters along.
Sure.
The game we're talking about is Wildermyth.
We don't tell
Yeah.
games here.
I know, crazy. Who wants to talk about this game? Who brought this to the table? Was this Caleb?
Yeah.
Caleb was the first of us who played it, I think.
Nerd. He probably.
Yeah.
Oh wait, he backed it because there's that photo of.
Oh,
no, that's
yes.
in Stolen
No,
Realm. That's Stolen
Stolen
Realm.
Realm.
We'll get to that anyway.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, this has been on my wish list for a while.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
great.
It's pretty good. It's I think it's probably the closest you can get to like a tabletop D&D experience story-wise. It almost feels like there's a dungeon master running you through individual stories for your characters. It's really cool. The combat system is pretty good, especially if you're playing a mage. The mages have a lot of really interesting things going on because they can what's called interfuse things in the environment. So there's like a stone pillar and you can interfuse it and it allows you to shoot a stone discus at enemies, or you interfuse with a plant and it allows you to grab somebody and pull them to the plant and hold them there. So the mages have a lot going on, I think. The other classes less so, I would say.
Especially
Granted.
if you decide to get new limbs and no longer be an archer. That really limits your capabilities.
It sure does. Interesting
Hey,
choice
you
there.
survived the last fight.
I did. My other archer, who would I guess they survived too.
More
Just
or
missing
less.
an eye.
He looks cooler now.
But kind of what's cool about this game, right, is that kind of like what we just alluded to is that random shit will just happen. You have to deal with it. Like if you lose a fight, your character doesn't necessarily die, but they're gonna lose an arm or a leg or an eye. And so for the rest of the campaign, anytime they show up, they are missing that limb.
Yep.
Or Aaron's character found. I don't even know what happened to you.
I don't remember. I
You
it
found
was-
some cursed
Just an
thing?
entity was like, yo, I'm taking over a part of your body.
That's
And you were
right.
like, okay,
Okay.
take over all of it.
Yep, pretty much.
And so he became almost like a. I mean, werewolf isn't even quite the right. Just like a half
shadow
demon
wolf.
creature.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
shadow
very
creature.
strange. But that was another thing. His abilities changed. He became more and more beast-like as we went through the campaign, and it's really cool because that's not what the campaign was about. That was just a thing that happened.
Yeah.
Just a
on
side
our
story.
path. Yeah.
Right, and like our characters got married and
Yes.
then had a child
Mhm.
who ended up being a part of our adventuring team, which is wild.
I think my favorite part of that is it wasn't like, hey, do you two want to be married? It was like, Jake, what's your relationship to Aaron's character? And I was like, we're in love. And the game was like, yes,
Yeah.
sir, right away.
Yep.
You got it.
And the rest of the game was like, that's it. Now
They're
they're
in
married.
love now. And I was like, all right. I kind of thought.
11 years of peace pass, and you guys got married.
That's the one thing I wanted to talk about this game that's wild to me. The amount of time that it takes to do anything. It's crazy.
So long.
You want to walk to another place and scout? That's 23 days. You want to convert this place so you can start getting resources from it? That's 54 days. Oh, we've just beat the boss? 11 years of peace follow before there's another boss.
Yeah.
And
Big
it's
fan
cool.
of time skips in video
It's
games.
really cool because you're like, your character starts getting gray hair, wrinkles. At one point, Jake's character, it said, hey, at the end of this chapter, they're going to retire.
Mhm.
Yeah, they're like 49 years old, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
How did I
Time
get
to
older
retire.
than everyone else?
I
I thought I
don't
was
know.
the same age, but
you
I
must
was
have
the
just
only
started
one.
older.
Well, most
I guess.
multiple
Aging
people I
curse.
saw finished some sort of thing that gave them
Like
like
a
plus
personal
10 on
quest.
retirement
Yeah,
year.
personal quest.
Yeah.
So
Cool game.
Yeah.
It's like really simple, but one of my favorite things about the game is how they include in the art on the fly the changes to your characters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like presented as if it's pre-done art, but it's obviously being generated with whatever customizations or horrible injuries or transformations have happened to your characters.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
even puts like gear on your characters and items that you found in previous areas. It's like Aaron just found a flute, and later I just noticed that it was hanging from his belt.
oh yeah, that was
The
on
rest of the
Alex's
game.
character, I think. The
Oh, was that
flute.
Alex's?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
it's
Garbage
weird.
flute
It's
we found.
it's kind of strange to see. It feels off a little bit that during those during those scenes that you're sort of walking through, that everything that you've been doing and interacting with is present on your characters, and it at times will change the way that they interact with the environment. That's a lot of things, like a lot of branching components for a game that does that much storytelling. Really neat.
I think personalities of characters can even change as you're going through. If I remember right, in my first campaign, somebody lost an eye, and they just got more and more morose as the story went on.
I was
like that.
wondering after we finished that campaign, like how different would it be if you played it again?
Wildly.
It's just like there's like almost so much writing you can do, right? Like what, like how much is in there?
Yeah, well, I mean, the mainline stuff is going to end up being pretty similar, the main
Right.
story stuff, but all the side stuff, there's,
Yeah.
I think, so many things that can happen.
I would
Really?
bet in the introductory campaign it's pretty simple, but I bet the follow-up campaigns there's a lot of
I mean,
like arts and things you can go to, because I bet they just want you to experience. Here's what the game has to offer. If you're going to play through the first 3 chapters, here's all like a good swath of everything you're going to experience in this game.
Mm-hmm.
if you remember, by the end, Caleb had been like touched by some stone spirit. Like
Yeah.
Caleb's character had like these blue runes on his face. We don't know what became of those because we beat the game and it never resolved.
Yep.
But
Yeah.
like, I think if we had gone, like if that had happened at first, something weird would have happened, like Aaron's transformation or something. Like,
Heck yeah,
True.
fully. We also, as a group, all played Stolen Realm. All 6 of us. We should. I don't know who wants to talk about. Actually, I know who's going to talk about this game. It's going to be Caleb because his name is literally listed in the credits for like Kickstarter backers.
Oh
yes,
my
Alex
God,
took a
this
photo,
fucking guy.
screenshot. Gosh, nerd.
Frickin' guy.
Is that the name I
Hey.
was supposed to be looking for?
You're welcome.
Yeah, it says Caleb
Thank you,
Juna in
Caleb, for
the.
making it come to life.
And I would have
Screenshot I
like
took.
I don't know, circled it in red or something.
I just left it for you to find.
Absolute nerd. Caleb, tell us about this game.
Okay. It is a co-op roguelike turn-based tactics game, I guess. A little bit.
Sure.
The co-op turns are all simultaneous, which means that it plays much faster than a normal co-op turn-based game. And there's a lot of interactivity between your characters and their abilities. Anyone else want to
All right, before we go, I need to go back to the backers. First of all, Derek backed it. Secondly,
Okay.
who the heck is Poon Fat Yovidha?
You weren't supposed
Oh,
to
that's
find
Aaron.
that.
That was me. Yeah.
It
Okay.
does just say Derek, and it's spelled like he spells it. That's all it says.
Yeah.
I didn't see that before.
We actually should have invited him to play. I mean, he backed the game, so
Clearly.
I do. Having the player turns be simultaneous means that a game with 6 of us does not take 5 hours.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I love things like Baldur's Gate 3 and Divinity Original Sin 2, but it gets really annoying when, like, you're just playing a barbarian. It's like, okay, I go up and I hit him. And it's like, okay, well, now the wizard needs to look through 12 different spells and
Heck
consider
yeah.
all their
Aaron.
options. And it's just like, all right, I'm going to go get some lunch. I'll be back.
Yeah.
And it
Alex-
still won't be my turn again.
I feel like Baldur's Gate for you, Alex, was like justification that you're not the only person who's slow at taking turns during video games. You're like,
I
oh,
don't
Aaron's playing the
know.
wizard. Somebody else can be slow this time.
I don't know where this has come from, but there's a lot of people lately claiming that this is just a thing that's always existed. I don't know.
going back to Jake's point on 6 players taking the same turn at the same time, there's also like funny moments that happen, such as one of the effects is going to be when an enemy dies, everybody gets frozen, and you just have one guy get blown up, and then there goes everybody's turn.
So it was like, all right, I'm just gonna move over here real quick. The archer shot a bird. And now we're all frozen.
Heck yeah.
To be fair, we didn't know the first time that everyone on the screen was going to be frozen.
The
The,
first time.
the simultaneous turns does introduce a little bit of chaos too, but I think
For
we
sure.
do a good job of like maybe like learning the way that each other's characters interact with the sort of scene, that specific spot we're in, and pacing it so that we can act at times that are like convenient for the squad.
Yeah, Jake runs in a circle, and I block the circle he's running in.
It's perfect. No notes.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to hear Jake and Ben's take specifically, since this is the first time they've played this. The rest of us have kind of played it through early access and
I
stuff.
loved the build customization. I loved
Yeah.
the whole bit where you don't lock in like
Oh,
cherry
he's
picks
gone
to
again.
different trees
He's
if
gone
you
again.
We
Where did you
love-
get this
that
microphone?
face.
Was that from like
I-
Party City right before
my-
they closed
Can you hear me
down?
now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is my video cutting?
Nope.
No.
No. That's how
So
we
weird,
know
because
we lost
I
you,
can-
because we see your mouth.
When you talk for an extended period of time, Mumble just decides you're done at a certain point.
I don't know what's happening.
I get tired of listening sometimes, so I just mute him. Is that not good?
No, but I love that you can cherry pick from different trees. I get
Yeah.
a lot of enjoyment out of the build customization because that's one of my favorite things in games like this. Like, I think you guys probably saw I did a bunch of solo playing this game after we played 6 of it, just because I had so much fun like figuring out like combos of abilities and how they work together.
Yeah, free class systems are always a lot of fun, I think.
Mhm.
And yeah, I had a lot of fun with this. This is one of my favorites I've played this year so far.
Nice.
Wow. Dang.
I
mean,
mean, I
that's-
gotta play
I-
some more.
Oh yeah, no, I'm very excited to play more. It's fun. It took me a while to figure out. I played Monk. I gotta stop playing Monk.
Stop playing
Monk
Monk,
is like
man.
never
Stop playing Monk.
good.
Quit it.
Monk
Every
is
system,
always
Always
kind of
regret
bad.
it every
I-
time.
every new
time,
system
though,
you
I'm
get
like,
to, you're like, what if it's good this time?
what if they figure out how to make Monk fun? I don't know.
Hey, I'm playing
There-
Monk Tank for Fellowship, and that's some fun.
Monk, from what I've seen, can be really good if you're willing to suck through the first like 15 levels of it.
Yeah.
I mean,
And you
I
get
would
to like
say
the higher levels into the cool abilities.
Yep.
the Monk I have now, I had to literally respec my whole build, and now I just run around like a barbarian, and it's pretty good. I'm pretty pleased with it. You know, it's not. I feel like it hasn't hit any of the interesting abilities. My main shtick right now is just that I do more damage depending on how far I move. So I tend to just run in a circle for half the fight and then run up and hit someone, which is funny. But
It is really generous on the respecking. It costs very
Yes.
little compared to how much you get on an adventure.
yeah,
Very nice.
I feel like we're getting more than what we've gotten in the past. Maybe Alex can confirm or deny, but I don't remember having as much money as we do right now.
Yeah,
Do we
I'm
like
sure.
up the difficulty and we get more money?
We
or
do
is
get
We
more
Okay.
drops
up
from
difficulty.
from higher difficulty.
We upped the difficulty, I think, by 2 notches from when we
Yeah.
first played it.
still doesn't feel like it. We should go up higher.
Heck yeah, dude. just punishing. That's what I want. Max difficulty.
I want
Iron
my
Man
brambles to
mode.
matter. So far, they don't.
I don't know. There was that really funny time where you brambled somebody inside of a enclosed area, going, "Ah, shit, yeah, now they're stuck," and it turned out that was a caster with range spells.
Yeah.
And just sat there throwing fireballs at me for like 6 turns.
Yeah.
Good stuff. I think we've had a couple deaths, but we haven't lost anything yet, so we could go up difficulty maybe.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. Talking about. Let's move on to individual. Caleb, what have you been playing lately?
I played through Crow Country. It's a game that was on my list last year to try to get through, but never got around to it. It is a almost PS1 era graphics, kind of retro survival horror game, very much in the Resident Evil genre. Lots and lots of puzzles. It has combat. It's not particularly difficult, I would say. I'm kind of still Resident Evil-like, I think. Combat tends to be pretty easy in those earlier games, I think. But yeah, the puzzles are really good. There's quite a few secrets to find, most of which are upgrades to various combat abilities or extra ammo, stuff like that. And it tells a pretty interesting story. And it's just really fun exploring all those different puzzles, figuring them out. I got stuck on, I think, a couple secret puzzles, but most of it is pretty reasonable difficulty, I think.
Nice. Do you feel it should have been on your list from last year or no?
No, I don't think I would have put it on my list.
Okay, just curious.
Yeah, it's not terribly long either. I think it's only like 7 hours or so.
Okay. Yeah, because I know this is one that I was thinking about playing last year, but it wasn't on anyone's list, so I ended up not.
Yeah,
I want to check it out at some point. Just
Yeah, I suspect you'll like it quite a lot.
I bet I will. Sounds cool.
Jake, how about you?
So really, the only thing I've been playing lately is Avowed. It's the new Obsidian RPG. I think we talked about it last podcast.
But I
hadn't. Yeah, I hadn't played it at the time. I've played it now. I really didn't think I would like this game, but I really, really like it. I don't know. I feel like this game, part of why I didn't think I would like it, I feel like it's gotten sort of a lot of negative press. I feel like a lot of people are really disappointed in it. I think part of it is it's not like a very immersive game. I don't know if that's the right way to put that.
Oh yeah.
I think the way I've kind of come to understand it is like you have something like Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which is very like meticulous. It's like it wants to make you feel like you are living in the Middle Ages as a peasant, so you need to like wash your face and wash your clothes and go to sleep at a reasonable hour. And like, it's very there's all these like little details. People have different schedules. You need to figure out when the shops are open and go whatever. Whereas this is just like it's more like a theme park. You go in, it's not super deep, but you can run around and have a lot of fun with it. You can kind of just go out there and just beat up some gremlins or whatever with your sword. The combat feels great. It's really fun. It's really snappy. You can run around. There's like a light parkour element. You can mantle really generously over obstacles, so getting around's a blast. And the story is fine. It's okay. I don't know. It's not really blown my socks off. The writing is fine. The voice acting's quite good. It's good enough to keep me going anyways. The real star, I think, is the combat, which is a blast.
Yeah, the combat's definitely the best part. There's definitely...
Sword and Shield?
I am playing... Shield is like the only thing I'm not using. Got a spellbook in one hand, a sword in the other hand, and 2 pistols as my secondary.
Oh, nice.
So fun. We were talking earlier about being able to like mix different trees. It's super easy. Almost nothing in the game requires something earlier in the tree. Like there's a small handful that do, but otherwise it's like, okay, I'm going to get the level 1 wizard ability, the level 3 ranger ability, and the max level warrior ability. And it's like, hell yeah, go for it, brother. And you can respec. It's like 200, but it scales
really
up with your
cheap.
level, so it gets more expensive, but yeah, it's super duper cheap. Like, sometimes I'll just put a point in. Literally, I put a point in, tried the ability, and I went, wow, this is terrible, and just respect right
Nice.
away. Yeah. But it's fun. I'm really enjoying it.
I still haven't
think-
managed. Sorry, you got.
I think for an Obsidian game, it's lacking in mostly writing and probably story. Granted, I've only made it to the second area, so I don't really know the full story of the game yet.
It reminds me a lot of Outer Worlds in that regard, where it's like, I mean, maybe this was just me. I didn't think the Outer Worlds had amazing writing. Like, it was funny. It did very well comedic writing, but I wasn't like the main plot or the characters didn't blow me away with Outer Worlds, and that's kind of how I feel with Avowed, where it's like, oh, it's good enough, it's fine.
Yeah, I feel like
I'm
the
enjoying
writing
it,
in
I'm
like the
having fun.
Pillars games was definitely a lot better, but their combat, didn't have a lot to it compared to Avowed, I think.
Yeah.
And I've been a little frustrated with noticing the cracks in player choice in this game, specifically dialogue. I feel like it's really obvious a lot of the time that whatever you pick just doesn't matter. They're going to say the same thing regardless, and that can be really annoying, I think.
Yeah, especially in a game like this where you're sort of primed to expect it. Like, I feel like their games are one of like ones you would present, right? Like Fallout New Vegas is infamous for this, for being like an immersive sim, and then obviously like the Pillars games had a lot of really great writing. So having them kind of drop the ball on this, it's a little disappointing. It's less surprising. I don't know if you know, this had kind of like a troubled development. I think they were going to make it like a live service game because fucking of course they were going to do that. But it ended up being a single player RPG, which I feel like we got the good ending, and the fact that it turned out as good as it did, I think is kind of a miracle.
Yeah.
I will say, as much as the overall dialogue is probably lacking, I have enjoyed, and I haven't played it a ton either. Like, I just got to the first big town, and then I got distracted trying to go everywhere and talk to everyone and spent like 3 hours just in town. And then that's where I basically left off. But I have enjoyed a lot of the little comments that they've got some of the NPCs to say, like any of the conversations seem quest based or things like that. I'm like, yeah, whatever. You just like the first lady I talked to who sounded like remotely important was like going on about like basically just told me you gotta go here and kill some stuff, but like she did a very poor job of like making it seem interesting other than that. But when I was walking around at one point, literally I walked into like a marketplace and there's basically what looked like a hole in the ground that was like a well that was boarded over. And I was just like, oh, I wonder what that is. So I just smacked it and broke the board. And literally there's a lady leaning on the wall. It just goes, why would you do that? That was the only thing keeping them out, you idiot. And I'm just like, oh, it did not occur to me that anyone would respond to me doing that. They're just little things like that I did enjoy. There's a bit where the first merchant you meet when you first, or at least the first one I met when you walk up off of the ship, it's just like, hey, how's it going? Buy my stuff. Don't listen to anything that other merchant says. And then you immediately walk over to the other merchant and you find out that they were divorced like a long time ago. And it's just, there's little bit. I think they did a good job, at least so far, with the little bits. Maybe not so much with the storytelling important conversation, but it's enough to keep, like, it gives me a chuckle every once in a while out of some of the comments.
Yeah, the companion banter and dialogue I think is pretty good too. I like the companions so far.
Yeah, I want to emphasize, it's not, I wouldn't call it bad. It's just not like blowing my socks off.
Not as good as I was hoping.
It's fun. It's not necessarily
Obsidian game would be.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a good way to put it.
Really, all I wanted was Outer Worlds, but fantasy. So if it gets approximately close to that.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much exactly how I did describe it.
Yeah.
Ben, how about you?
So other than Avowed, which I just mentioned while I was playing, I played a little bit of a game about digging a hole. I don't know if you guys are aware of this. Game about digging a hole. It's pretty minor.
Here's the question. Did you buy it yourself or was it in the family share?
Well, Chad, were you planning on returning this one? Okay, good, because it's your copy, yes.
Incredible.
No, it's fine. I mean, it's fun. It was. I played on my Steam Deck, and I was just like, I want something mind-numbing that is entertaining, but not a big deal. It's really crappy graphics. The plot is you bought a house, and with part of the buying the house, they told you there's buried treasure in the backyard. You have basically a shovel. you dig hole for minerals and rocks that you can sell to upgrade your shovel, and then dig more hole. That's the gameplay loop. I dug down far enough. There are some natural caves eventually, and I started finding some other weird stuff down there that was like structures of some sort, and that's basically where I left off, and I haven't played since then. It was fun. Might hop back into it later because I like
There
the whole...
is an ending. You can beat it.
But I mean, I like those kind of mind-numbing games that are just like do thing to get upgrades to do thing better. So I'll probably play some more of it later.
Did you hear about iDigging coming out?
iDigging. Is this related to iDigit?
This is basically a game about digging a hole, but it now has co-op in it.
Wow.
All right, Chad, you and me, let's dig a hole together. Yeah, I'm looking at it. Oh man, this does look literally identical in every way. Like,
it's even cheaper.
That's hilarious. It's got mixed reviews.
Oh, boy.
I went into the forums when Chad showed me this game, and there was somebody like, this just looks like a game about digging a hole. Did that come first? Or were you guys working on this already? And then one of the developers responded, they're like, well, we won't deny we were inspired by a game about digging a hole, but our game is very different. And it's like, okay.
Is it?
A game about digging a hole just came out. Like, so they must have slapped this together so fast.
Asset flip, dude. It's up to 5 people co-op. There we go. Extra live stream.
Heck yeah.
You can dig a hole on extra life.
And last thing I've been playing the most of, and quite a lot of, and you're all going to have to take this with a grain of salt, is called Doomfields, and it is an Android game. Would like to preface this. So, it's an Android game I picked up, and I've actually been having a blast with it. It is free with occasional ads, or you can pay like $5 to get the ads away. And the only other purchases in the app are for like cosmetics. This is the one that I said was an auto battler roguelike. What was the third word that we threw in there? I forget.
Just PvE. Because like usually the auto battlers are against other people.
So basically, what this game is it is a roguelike game that has a map similar to, say, Slay the Spire or some of those other ones, where you've got, the generated pathway that you start a level, and you can kind of pick your path up along different nodes. And then you go through several of those maps in order to beat the game. The way the game works is you start off with, basically, you get a character to play with. You can pick either a warrior, a rogue, or basically a caster. And then you're given minor tactical, like where you can place them on the map, although it doesn't matter that much. And then the gameplay is basically you enter a node, which is usually a fight, and then you hit go, and it auto battles. Your little guy will fight against the little monsters until he presumably wins. And then a couple things will happen. You earn experience points, you can level up, and then you can assign, you get ability points you can assign to different skills or passives that the guy has. And then they also sometimes drop gear. You have one piece of armor, one weapon, and then depending on your class, either a second weapon or a shield or like a book or some other thing. And then basically that's the gameplay of you're going through, and the enemies are obviously getting harder and harder, and you're leveling up and you're picking the correct gear. And then eventually you reach a point where you pick up a second member in your party, and then you get the same choice as before of, do you want one of these three? And then you add them to your party, and you can position them however you'd like on there, and then they auto battle. Once you reach level 10 and 20, you basically prestige up into a next level class. So say the rogue splits into either basically a skirmisher that's designed to use two-handed daggers, or an archer. And then there's all the classes split into 2, and then they split into 2 again at level 20. Once you're done with one of the maps, there's an overmap where you can pick the next zone you're going to, and there's options there too. I've been loving it. It's super fun. It scratches my itch of like building characters together, because you can also do things like, as you're going through, let's say you get a really good item for DPS, but like you're not getting any lifesteal items. You can make your next character you pick like a caster that you build into a cleric for healing. Say you pick caster and then you pick up a lifesteal item for one of your damage dealers. You could go, I'm just going to spec him into damage instead, and at level 10 I'll pick the damage class instead. It's nice, the flexibility. And then there's meta progression as you finish. You earn currencies, and then you can use that to unlock new abilities and other stuff, which range anywhere from unlocking minor number boosts to unlocking the ability to re-roll a map every once in a while, like once per new map that shows up, to entirely new classes. Like, there are a ton of classes in this game that you do not start locked out with. I think you start with one, I want to say like 15 or 20 classes, but there's a total of like 50 in the game or something like that as you go through and unlock them all.
Dang.
And then there's kind of a game, once you beat it a couple times, it like unlocks new areas that you can then go into to try to beat and go further. And I think there's an endless mode at the end. And then there's like a leadership board where you can submit your score, and it'll actually once you lose eventually, or once you finish, there's technically a PvP mode where you can slot your party up against other parties that have been like put on the leadership board, and it auto battles against you to see who does well.
Oh, that's cool.
I don't know. It's really fun, and it's really great because each individual fight takes like 30 seconds tops, and you can save between any fight. It's great for if I'm sitting down and I've got like 20 minutes to kill, or if I'm literally just like, hey, I'm just going to do like 2 minutes of this and then I'm going to go do something else. Like, it gives a lot of breakpoints, a lot of saves. The advertising is really minor also. Basically, the only time an ad shows up is in between full maps when you switch to an entirely new zone. And I think every single ad I've gotten so far has been skippable after like 4 seconds.
Not bad.
Like, I'll probably give them the money just because I've put hours into this game already. But I don't know. For a little Android game that was free, this is really impressive, and I have a lot of fun with it.
Got a lot of good
Nice.
reviews just from looking around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah, so apparently my parents have been playing a little bit of Call of Duty Warzone.
Yeah, I saw this on your list, and I was like, what is going on?
And
Is it 2019? What the
I
heck?
was having a conversation with my mother over the telephone, and she was like, yeah, you gotta come in and see how good I am now. Like, okay. So I downloaded it. Sends you right into a thing called Warzone Boot Camp. And the first match I drop into, I'm like, wow, these guys like really suck. Like, these guys are bad. And then I played another match, and I was like, oh, those guys were pretty good. And I played another match, and I was like, these guys are just really bad. Like, let me go play Resurgence and see what's going down. So then I popped into Rebirth Island, and I was like, I just got sweated on so hard. Holy crap. Like, Chad in his prime would have had issues playing against some of those people. Come to find out, Warzone Boot Camp is like 95% AI.
There it is. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so they're hopping into that and just having a blast, freaking just taking on the computers, and like I'll hop in with them and I'm dropping like 17, 20, 25 kills, like crazy numbers.
Did you tell them it was bots?
I will not tell them this.
Okay.
I feel like it's just something that needs to be untold.
Yeah, I was just letting them have fun.
Yeah. They hopped into regular Warzone with me because we won like 3 in a row, and they're like, all right, I think we've graduated. Let's go to the regular Warzone.
Oh boy.
And we got pretty waxed. They lost in the gulag, and I'm like, how do we lose in the gulag? Come on. It's like, well, because you're not versing AI anymore. But yeah, supposedly you have to get top 15 like 3 or 4 times to get the ranked mode unlocked. And I almost think if they did go through with that, the ranked mode might be where they have the most fun, because it's still versing real people, but it's going to be on their own skill level, because they'll find their rank, and that's where they'll be able to play. So I'll probably help them try to get to the top 15s eventually when they allow that. It's fun just hopping in, just seeing what's going on. I messaged Alex because I looked up meta weapons, and I was like, all right, got to dedicate your life to this game to make sure that you're competitive. Like, they still haven't done it to where you could just like hop in and have the meta loadouts. Like, you got to grind for those.
I will say I have been reading about, because Verdansk is supposed to be launching with season 3
Sure,
the beginning of April or something, and they're talking about how if them bringing the map back doesn't bring players back to Warzone, they're not going to continue it to the next Call of Duty.
Huh.
It's going to be done. And I really wish they would see that it's not really the map. It's just the amount of people who hack in that game and exploit it. And that is why people don't have fun.
Also, what's the point in shutting it down? Because, like, already, like, my father and, Van and, their buddy there, they all bought skins. So it's got to be a cash cow still. Like, I mean, that just seems dumb to shut it down.
It's like one of the
Not
first
making
things
much of
they did.
Fortnite.
Yeah, I mean, genuinely.
Yeah. Also, it's not, I don't know. Like, I understood why they shut down, what was it, like Blackout or something, or whatever that Call of Duty.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's because it was behind a paywall. You couldn't play. Like, this is free, though. Like, I don't know. It's weird. It'll be weird if they do shut it down. I'll be surprised. I don't think Verdansk is going to hit a player peak like they think it's going to. It may have a spike in player base, but I will say, playing the little bits that I've been playing, their movement feels really good now. It's not at all like the release of, was it Modern Warfare 2 when we were playing? It was really slow paced and clunky. You couldn't sprint and plate at the same time. Like, all of that's back in, basically. Everybody's super fast. I mean, the omnidirection actually gets me in trouble more so than not, because I'll try to like back up and
they added that
prone
system in the
and
Warzone.
I'll fling myself off a building. But yeah, I mean, it feels good. I just feel like there's better games out right now. Like, for instance, Rivals, and Fortnite's a thing. So I don't know. Anyways, second game that I picked up and played a little bit today to make sure that I had a little bit of under my belt so I could talk about it on the cast was played an hour of Split Fiction with Kate.
Nice.
So I bought it I ultimately decided to get it on computer, and then I used her laptop to stream it from my computer down to the TV, which couldn't figure out why it was locked to 60. There's got to be like a remote setting somewhere in Steam that has locked my frame rate to 60 frames. Anyways, it was a fun game. I mean, I didn't play all of It Takes Two, but it's obviously reminiscent of it. The storyline seems kind of cute. Already the sci-fi stuff, explosions, nice atmosphere, pretty looking. Yeah, I mean, there's not really a lot to say. I mean, the controls are intuitive, feels pretty tight. It's I mean, I feel like we're speed running through, but like that's just how the game's played. I mean, you just kind of hold W or hold forward, and the puzzles are kind of very apparent on what to do so far in the beginning. There's only been a couple times where we've sat there and been like, what? So, I mean, it's a fun game.
You've never played all the way through It Takes Two?
I co-opted with Frank.
Oh.
That's all I need to say.
You should,
didn't
when
play
you
with
finish
Kate?
this, you should play with Kate. Is an excellent game.
I tried getting Kate to play it, but because you're small and there were a scene or two that might have had a bug in it, she was like, no, thank you.
I see.
But I showed her Split Fiction, and she was like, yeah, let's do it.
Heck yeah. Alex.
Yes, sir. So I finished Bloomin' Rage, Lost Records Bloomin' Rage. Talked about that last time on here. Basically everything I said last time is relevant now. I just wanted to clear up the first part of this game, which is the part that's out, is basically just an elaborate way to make you care about the characters so they can do whatever horrible crap they're going to do to them in the next part is what I think is going to happen, and make you really feel it. Because they really just let you soak in these characters and get to know them for this entire section, and kind of nothing really drives the plot forward until the very end, and then they leave you on a cliffhanger, of course. So,
Heck yeah.
I think Tape 2 was gonna be crazy. If they pull out and make Tape 2 really something special, I think this will be like maybe their best game since the first Life is Strange.
Wow.
But we'll see. We'll see if they pull it off. And then the other thing I've been playing is Frank convinced me to pick up Hyper Light Breaker even though I was kind of like not wanting to play it until they finished that game, especially with the way the reviews are right now. But he was really struggling. He was like, it's basically impossible solo. Will you play it with me? And I was like, okay, yeah, I'll play it. It's actually very fun, even in the state it is right now, I think.
Is it just no difficulty? It's just one difficulty, and that's why it was hard to solo?
Well, I think it's just inherently easier with co-op because, like, if you die and your co-op partner beats the boss, then you can come back, like that sort of thing. You can go buy, if you have one stim, one heal on you at the start of a run, and if you still have it, you can use it to get your partner up, or you can go buy one and get your partner up that way. But I thought the structure of this game was pretty interesting because it's basically, I was telling Kelly about this the other day, it's like a roguelike inside of a roguelike. It's like smaller roguelikes inside of a bigger roguelike. So
What?
there's like an overarching run that is like hours long that your end goal is trying to beat the final boss of this island. But to get there, you go on a bunch of excursions to the island where you like try to get gear, or like you're collecting these prisms, which is what you use to unlock the different bosses. And the difficulty ramps up the longer you stay on the island, and then you extract at some point, and you get to take the gear that you get with you and kind of level up your characters. And then you also have like overarching meta progression with permanent unlocks that always stick around back at home base, and then you go back on these little mini runs again and get more gear, get better stuff. And you beat like the first boss of the island, and then go back out and beat the second boss of the island, etc., stuff like that. And then if you end up dying a total of 4 times, the whole island gets reset and you restart your entire run from the beginning. So it's this weird, like, super long run that has a bunch of little runs inside of it.
Weird.
When you die, all of your gear takes damage. And it's not like a percentage based thing. It's like if you find a piece of gear, it'll have like 2 pips of health on it. So if you died twice, that piece of gear gets destroyed. And so there can be points where you have a cool build going that's based around this one piece of gear that's enabling something special to happen, and then all of a sudden it gets destroyed, and you're like, well, crap. We're like 2 deaths into this run, 3 deaths into this run, and now my build's kind of screwed up also. Like, how do we progress from here? That part's a little bit weird. The other weird part is, like, you die the 4th time and the island resets. All your gear that you're currently holding just takes the damage it usually would, and you get to keep anything that survives it. So
That's
you can
weird.
start like the overarching run with some stuff sometimes. You don't reset to 0 entirely. I thought that part was super weird. Like that was an odd decision.
Strange choice, yeah.
Is there meta progression on the highest layer?
Yeah, so there are like each breaker, quote unquote, those are the characters, have 2, I forget what they're called, but they're like little robot dudes that kind of just describe your playstyle and have different upgrade trees within themselves, and also like decide what your stats are on the character. So you can unlock the second one of those, and then that decides your base stats, and then you can upgrade those things, and that stays with those characters forever.
Mm-hmm.
So you can upgrade like a character's health or a character's base damage, or like how many dashes they have or whatever, and that will always be progress that you keep. There's also like specific upgrades to shops and what sort of things you can invest into. Like I upgraded the weapon shop, and it gave me the ability to upgrade weapons at the shop, and that turned out to be really, really good because I had a huge sword that I upgraded to max, and it was just like one-shotting little dudes at some point. It was great. And then it got destroyed because I died, and I was very sad.
How is the combat?
Combat is tight. Combat's good, I think. there's just like weird polish stuff and like some of the weird stuff about like how the runs fit together, like I described earlier, and just like bugs and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's just all early access cruft, I think. And then there's also like obvious parts of the game that say like coming soon is this system, and it's like, okay, so
Right.
it's just like not done yet.
Do they have like the only roadmap I've seen is just basically through April-ish, and it doesn't provide a lot of info on when they're planning a 1.0 launch. Have you seen anything on that?
I haven't really looked into it. I have no idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, just from like reviews and stuff like that, it seems like it might be a ways out. But in general, I would say I played like 6 hours of it and I had a fun time. So I think it might be, if they can nail some of the weirdness with like the extraction mechanics and the destruction mechanics and how loops and the gameplay loop fits together, and then also just polish it up, I think it could be something special.
For the length of early access, they did say about a year is their plan.
Oof. So there's a 2026 game.
Yeah.
Good to know. Cool. Well, I don't have any additional games because all I played was demos for the past 2 weeks, with the exception of Wildermyth and Stolen Realms. So that is it for WHYBPL. And I think that's it for the podcast, boys.
Oh my god.
Yeah. And I don't know how, but we keep letting this slip through the cracks. Ben has not updated us on completing Elden Ring and the DLC. You want to talk about it next time?
You guys all know about it already. It's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Not worth talking about.
We already done Shadow of the Erd Tree?
Quacks.
The quacks.
The quacks.
The quacks.
The quacks.
The quacks?
It's
The quack.
slipping through the quacks.
Quack. Anyway, on that note, we're going to end the podcast.
Excellent.
All right, catch you next time. See ya.